start. So thank you for actually registering for the first Nahrain Network Chatham House webinar. This is part of a series of webinars that we are organizing in partnership with Chatham House to look at the future of cultural heritage in Iraq. So it's focused on policy and it's focused on practice rather than theory or academic work. It's more focused on what can we do now in the current situation, where are we now with the kind of challenges that we face. And as we all know, we all see what's happening in Iraq. The challenges are immense. So having a discussion about the future of cultural heritage in a situation of uncertainty is critical now, as it has been obviously for several years. What do we do about the past, particularly about the damage, the destruction we've seen since 2003 and also from the 1990s? And what do we do about the future? And I'm happy to say that we also have here Dr. Abdul Amir al-Hamdani, who's a former minister. So it's good to have policymakers, people of influence to speak about, to participate in these discussions. And I think this particular discussion about Baghdad is often a neglected one when it comes to international work, unfortunately. And we are joined today by the esteemed architect. Sorry, I'm still admitting people here. Yeah, we're joined by Taghlib Abdul Hadi Al-Waili. And I'll just give a short introduction about his past. Taghlib is an architect and an urban planner. He received his undergraduate degree in architecture in 1974 and his master's and MA in urban and regional planning in 1977 from University of Baghdad. And since then, he's been practicing planning architecture in the United Arab Emirates, Jordan, Iraq, and Canada. Taghlib is an author of Baghdad, 21st Century, The Historical City, that's the Arabic version, which was published in 2017, and the English version, which was translated, published in 2018, Baghdad, 21st Century Revival of Historical City, the same name. And both books review the city's past, analyze its present, and sets in detail his vision for the future of the historical city. Taghlib actually looks at and develops a roadmap, if you like to call it that, for the future revival, rehabilitation of historic Baghdad. And I think the best way to do this now is to listen to Taghlib's presentation and then to take questions and answers afterwards. And I would leave half the time for questions and answers. And this is a conversation only with Taghlib today. And we are obviously organizing a webinar series. So I'll send a link to the program for our future events. So if you'd like to start, Taghlib.
Thank you, Mihya, for your introduction. I would like to thank Nahrain Network for making this opportunity for me to highlight a long-standing problem of Baghdad, and particularly Baghdad historical city, which is not recognized since the beginning of the century. I would like to also say hi to Dr. Abdul Amir al-Hamdani and to the participant for their interest in this discussion. I would like to mention an important issue regarding my vision or thoughts about Baghdad historical city. Some people think that when I talk about Baghdad historical city, they think that we are after, me and my team are after the conservation of heritage buildings, and which is not. It is part, yes, conservation is a part of our campaign to recognize Baghdad historical city. But the aim is to build the capacity of this area to improve its economic future and quality of life for its citizens and visitors. Today, this area particularly is the heart of Baghdad, means the downtown and the city center of the capital of Iraq. This area, unfortunately, is neglected and suffers major decay. We will go through the presentation. So I just wanted to note that we are not after heritage conservation only. Heritage conservation is the result of reviving this area. So I'll start this presentation by having Baghdad historical city as an example of the future of heritage in Iraq. Part one, I'll give you a brief history for the people who doesn't know what is Baghdad, or they have a brief idea. The round city was built in the year 762 AD and stayed for not more than two at Rusafa, stayed for about 150, 200 years, and then it was destroyed by floods and other reasons. So after the 12th century, it have moved from Karkh, which is the west side of Tigris River, to the east side of Tigris River, which is less vulnerable to floods. And since that time, it moved also to the south, to its current position, and stayed from the 12th century until the 20th century. Before the beginning at 1886, unfortunately, the Ottoman Wali have demolished the walls of Baghdad, and since that time the frame of the city have changed a little, slowly. This is the city at the beginning, Rusafa, at the beginning of the 20th century, and that's the 18th century. That's how it is today, and this is its location. And this is what happened to it from 1920 to 1980. It have been destroyed totally by roads, modern roads, and the dense urban pattern have been shattered. The markets, continued markets have been cut into slices, as you see. The white shows the roads, the new roads which have been built within the city. Now, what is the current situation of this area? The rapid urbanization and modernization have affected. This is an example of the city center, not the whole area, but the city center, where they have cut also slices of areas and built a new construction according to the plans which have no relation to any comprehensive plan. So this have affected the area, deteriorated infrastructure today. It has traffic chaos, environmental pollution, heritage in danger, losing every day, loss of identity and character in the new construction, deserted alleys and slums within the area. This is the situation we are facing today in the heart of the city. That's our downtown. So the destruction of major areas in the historical city resulted in diminishing of related cultural heritage. It did not destroy the buildings or made slums only, but the people, their tradition, their culture also have been shattered and is in danger of loss today. There is a lot of city memory, history being lost day by day. One of the main reasons for this decay is the wholesale market. The wholesale markets have got a direct effect which affects loading and unloading decks being used in the open areas and in the squares. There is a lot of heritage building decay, traffic chaos, infrastructure decay, lack of services, security, corruption, fires every few days. All this is a reason of this wholesale market. This is a view on Rashid Street before last week. It's being used as this heritage trail is being used as backyard for garbage disposal and loading deck. That's a direct result of the presence of and dominance, actually, not only presence, dominance of wholesale market within the area. And if we leave this wholesale market to stay as the situation goes on, we are going to lose our city center, and we have, instead of the city center and downtown, we will have a big, enormous wholesale market which serves 9 million people. So today, the urban heritage is a burden to the state, to the financial institutions, instead of valuable assets. Countries have noted their historical cities and the value of their heritage, and they are using it to revitalize its economy to the benefit of its people. Today, the urban heritage is a burden. The government doesn't have money to protect it, doesn't have money to get the cultural heritage also developed and exposed and strengthened, and all we are losing, and all this cultural urban heritage is in danger. These are some photos which shows the situation of the physical heritage. Now, in this situation, what we can do to save and revive this area. I'll go quickly through future vision. The principles are simple: man instead of car, sustainability instead of decay, conservation instead of modernization, memory and against neglect, green against pollution. We have a three-dimensional vision based on space, function, and time. Space means the areas, the morphological areas, which needs to be recomposed. There is imbalance in the functional and activities within the area. And there is a city memory which is being diminished, and we need to bring it back and reinstate the city memories, because Baghdad is full of memories in every corner. Baghdad is 1,250 years old. And every corner, every street, every alley, there is a story to be told. We need, so through this morphological composing, we need to reconnect the urban the spaces and components, reconnect the areas, the parks, recreate new spaces. Mustansiri as an example, recreating the riverfront. The second dimension is the functional rebalancing. We need to rebalance the markets and the activities. There are dense areas and there are loose areas. We need to restudy this, distribute the power of these. An example is the Sharjah. The third dimension, which is the most important dimension, we are talking about space. We talked about function, activities, and now we are talking about recollection of city memories. This is the heart, this is the soul of the city. We need to celebrate the history. We need to emphasize and reconfirm the memory and history for the new generations, to get them know their identity. I don't blame those people who went into Tahrir Square asking for home, Nurid Watan. Those people, they didn't find the home where they mix. They didn't find their city center. City center is a place where all people mix, all people try to practice their identity, practice their daily life, meet. This is missing in Baghdad. This is one of the major issues in, let's say, the social imbalance and social problems which we are facing. For instance, Bab al-Sharji, in the hearts of Iraqis, Bab al-Sharji is the East Gate, is in the hearts and minds of people. This gate have been demolished about 70 years ago, more than 70 years, about 8 years ago. But still they call it the East Gate. Recreation of physical. What is the result of such development and vision? There will be an urban development plus economic revitalization and social prosperity. This will be long-term state sustainable development. Through riverfront development, these are strategies. Through the Rashid Street enhancement, through open spaces utilization instead of car, the historical souks revitalization, and the alleys and spines revival. All these together will make create an urban development, economic revitalization with social prosperity. Number two, will result in updated infrastructure and services, safe transportation system. This will be a renewed sustainable infrastructure, public transportation, and pedestrian services. And then protected heritage, flourishing tourism industry, and social pride. And this is one of the important establishing and celebrating city memory and enhancing cultural heritage. How this can be achieved? Of course, this cannot be achieved in a day or two, nor a month or two, nor a year or two. This can be achieved only through a long-term comprehensive plan. A staged long-term revival plan. Stage one is the Rusafa city center, which is between the Dijla River and Rashid Street. That will take about 5 years. Stage two is the Rusafa city center part 2, which is between Shara al-Rashid and Khulafa Street. Stage 3 will go beyond Khulafa Street to Kifah Street. And stage 4 will go from Kifah Street to Sheikh Omar Street. And then we'll go through Karkh, Western River Part 1, and then the last stage should be finished in the year 25, completing the whole area. The total area of Baghdad historic city is about 9.8 kilometers square. The intervention operations within this area in 25 years will cover protection, preservation, conservation, adaptive maintenance, urban renewal, all sorts of kinds of interventions will be there on individual building scale or urban area scale. The parties involved definitely will be governmental institutions, universities, research center, international organization, and professional bodies. Definitely there are challenges. I'll go briefly through these challenges. The major challenge is the wholesale market effects. We need to transfer the wholesale activities, and that will create ease and space for retail outlets, services, and other activities. We have definitely financial, lack of government funds, needs private-public partnership. The legislative, there is a lack and insufficiency of legislations has to be dealt with to strengthen these legislations. Administrative, definitely there is an overlap of ownership and difficulties. We need to establishment of special authority to govern the Baghdad historical city in all aspects. There is technical, there is lack of highly qualified expertise in management. This can be dealt with in training of required teams. And finally, and the most important is the social. There is low social and governmental awareness about this area, and needs a lot of work to implement a high awareness programs to deal with these issues. Definitely, there is a lot to be, a lot of details I'm going through very quickly. Maybe you can explain in the later in the discussion. I'm just putting the points. Behind all these points, there is a lot of studies and proposals have been made through the years, through workshops also. Now, the revival of Baghdad historical city is to create a great place to live, work, and entertain. Is the recognition of a city role in the world cultural development. Baghdad was the center of the world for centuries and have given a lot of science, art, culture, etc. So its place within the world culture the revival of the historical city shall strengthen the sense of belonging, reaffirm the city's memory and culture of to the new generation. It will also ensure the creation of hundreds of thousands of job opportunities along this period in an economically sustainable, healthy society. This is how the city center should become within the next 5 years, the first stage. What we are planning is to have pilot projects followed by other projects, pilot projects that revitalize the area around, and mainly to be developed by investors, developers, and public-private partnership. So this will affirm social unity, enhance health, environment, reconnect urban element, conserve urban heritage, and revitalize economic activity. So Baghdad historical city its history creates its future, or builds its future. Thank you for listening, and I hope I have just put a few points together for our discussion. I'm ready.
Thank you, Taglub. Thank you for that fascinating presentation. It's really a shame to see such a degradation of Baghdad, central Baghdad, the historic part of Baghdad. Can I just ask you a quick question? You've said 25 years this will take in terms of rehabilitation, the revival of historic Baghdad. Do you have a figure for the cost? And what kind of structure would that sort of entail? Would it mean private sector, government money? Could you just give us a quick sort of overview of that aspect, and then we can take questions from our guests.
This is a 25 years long-term plan. It will cost definitely billions of dollars. Our estimation for the first stage, which is the 5 years, is about $4 billion. This $4 billion is, if you look at it from the economic point of view, from the feasibility point of view, you'll find that this is the heart of your city. This is the capital of Iraq. Okay. However, we know that the Iraqi government have problems in finance. Not recently. Recently is a deeper problems, but previously, from our studies, we know that the institutions, government institutions, start with making a plan for an area and put funds, buy the lands from the people, build a few buildings, and then the finance, there's a lack of finance, and they just forget about the project. An example, I'll give two examples, and there is a lot of examples you can see. Khulafa Street, that was from the 50s, or let's say, mid-50s, until today. The street is not complete. The slums behind it lacks everything, from infrastructure to everything. The other